Hey, MaKenna, Mac here. Going to be going over your swing. Really just trying to give you a look. I know you guys were super interested in the power stuff because the batting average is kind of already good if you're over 400. So let's dive into the different phases that I think really would be important to focus on if we want to work on that stuff. First thing we're going to do is we want to load phase of the swing. So this is Bryce Harper, and here's what we're looking for in the load. We see an obvious move backwards to have the hitter get into his back leg. When that happens, a couple of things are happening. You see the belt buckle is pointing at the catcher. He turns it back towards the catcher, and you see the front shoulder tucking down and back towards the catcher as well, so that both his chest and belt buckle are pointing more at the catcher in the load phase of the swing. And the load phase starts from the time the foot picks up till right before he starts to go forward. You also see that this top hand starts to pull back into a punching position, and that's what we like with the load phase of the swing. So when we look at your load phase of the swing, the part where you go the negative move before you start to go forward, it's really close, at least from the hips perspective, okay? So you're starting to go that back. There's not like a huge negative move. The knee stays over the ankle. The hip is staying inside the knee, so you're stacked appropriately, and you start to slide that rear glute backwards. Problem is, it's just not quite enough. It's easier to see from this angle, so like you're slightly open. So that side view, it looks like it starts to coil, but you only get to right here. You only get to where your pelvis is even, versus if you were to go back and look at Bryce Harper, he's got like a 10 or 15 degree closed level of hips. So what's really cool about working with bat sensors, which I'm going to recommend that when you come out and train with us, you pick one up. The Blast Motion bat sensors are $150, and they will help us guide a lot of the training as you come out and work with us and practice at home, depending on how much you want to do either. But what happens is I would put you in a couple of our drills. Like we have a drill that we really like for feeling how to feel more coil here called a step back to a pivot pick. And we would teach you that drill when you come out to the facility, and it would teach you how to coil. But what happens is we would have the bat sensor on your bat, and you would play around with how much coil was too much, how much was too little, and actually find the right amount that's like, oh, the bat sensor would tell you like, okay, that right there, that's the amount of coil into your hip, the amount of extra degrees, because you only get to like right here, which is about even, versus more closed, another 10 or 15 degrees of coil in the hips, like what amount helps you really produce more. And then making sure that it's not too much either. Like if you try to do 20 degrees, it would slow back down. So there's a sweet spot, and we'd want to help you dial that in with a bat sensor for the load phase of the swing. The general movement, though, is the right idea. I like how it's simple. You have a slight coiling back with the rear glute. It's coiling. It's just not completing coil, so it's not quite enough. When we look at the upper body, it kind of looks like the upper body is not coiling. It's not, that front shoulder is not really starting to go down and back towards the rear leg. It's just kind of like front shoulder stays high and it just kind of goes up. Front shoulder stays up instead of coiling down and back. It doesn't have to be all the way there, but we want it to start to coil down and back so it can start to work with the fascia of your body that runs through your core and your legs, which we'll talk about in a second. But that's the first thing I see, a little bit more coil that we'd like to add to the load phase of the swing. And then just so you know, we would be doing all of that with some weighted bats. So in our facility, we have weighted bats, but you can either buy a set of your own. We love the Axe Bat Speed Training bats. There's a fast pitch model or set that you can get that works great. But also what works just as great if you don't want to use, it's not in the budget, or you'd rather spend that budget on something else. I know travel gets expensive on travel ball, is using like a $5 roll of lead tape and finding some junker bats at home to create your own bats. Or like literally I've had people go to Goodwill and they can find bats there that are cheap. It doesn't matter. It just, you need the weight. The key is 20% on the end and 20% on the handle in two different training bats while you do these drills that we're talking about. So let me just kind of like give you an idea about why we use those bats, because they're really an important part of when you work with us and when you train at home.
So the way the axe bat speed training works, let's see if I can come up here. We're using these bats right here. These are the green one and the red one. The green one is 20% heavier than the kid's game bat on the end. The red one is 20% heavier on the handle. It actually counterweights it, so it makes them go faster. And when they swing these, using drills that target their inefficient movements, they can train themselves to go faster. It works like basically every time. So this is a study with college athletes. These are, where you could go look up these extra college people, but like these guys this was done over 6 weeks, added 8.2% increase in bat speed. Over 12 weeks, these guys got 6 to 10, and they tried different things. These guys got 8%. We typically see results that are even a little bit better than this because college players already got to college knowing how to move right, and then they just train themselves to move faster in that movement pattern. And we really believe in a two-pronged approach where first we need to teach you how to move right, and then we need to teach you how to move fast in that new correct movement pattern. And so we can get even better results with that. But just kind of real quick to let's see if we can go over how this works. Let me find, there's a series of different bat speed training drills to do. We'll pick some of these. I'll talk about which ones we want to pick based off of the different inefficient mechanics that we see with her programming. And then if we forward down, this is just an example of the program. This is kind of how it works. We're going to pick 4 drills, and and this is an example where they've got these drills, and we do it so that the green is the end loaded bat, the red is the handle loaded bat, and then the other one's the game. And we're going to do drill number 1, and we're going to do that drill 3 or 4 reps with each bat, trying to set a bat speed record using the bat sensor, and then we're going to do those similar types of drills on the front toss. And we will scale this up and we'll change it throughout the weeks. But this is the program that if we will do that, we will add 5-8 miles an hour of bat speed to how hard she can swing the bat if you do it 2-3 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week, something like that. So usually we recommend people do it once or twice a week with us, and then once or twice a week on their own, taking these drills that we're doing, and that's where we get some of the really good.
And then the next thing we want to look at is we want to look at the stride phase of the swing. So here's what we want to have happen. We want to take that from the loaded position, and we want to try to get to this. So here's a good example of a softball player. You'll notice that she does coil and load her hip right there. She went from unloaded to loaded with the hip, front shoulder still coiling down. So there's not really a difference between baseball and softball, in my opinion. You're starting to see her right hand pull back, and she keeps pulling it back until right before her toe touches. Right at toe touch, you'll notice that her elbow's pulled back into a punching position. Her hands and elbow are around shoulder height, and if there was a flashlight on the end of the knob of her bat, it would be lighting up the catcher, okay? So that would be the position that they would land in, and if you go and Google launch position, you'll actually see a great graphic, or if you don't, I don't know if it'll still be there if you were to search for it, but that's what I did. And you see all these Hall of Fame or All-Star hitters, all of their front shoulders are coiled down and back, all of them when they hit. So this is one of those kind of absolutes that they all do. They're all down and back. All of their hands and elbows are pulled back to around shoulder height into a punching position. And if they had flashlights on their knob of their bat, that knob would be pointing at the catcher. So those are kind of some guidelines about that's the position we want to get to in the stride. The stride is the goal of the stride is to get it so that we continue to pull back into a nice strong loaded launch position so that when our foot is about to hit the ground, we can start to explode. So that's what we're trying to do here.
So when we look at your stride, we want to see, does your body coil? It does have some degree of counter rotation as you go forward. But when you land, we have the front shoulder higher than the back shoulder. The hands are really, really high. The elbow is even with the shoulder, but it's not the position that a lot of hitters get into that are all those All-Star and Hall of Fame hitters. This is a really high. This is going to contribute to that downward stuff too. It makes it so you can't slot your barrel deep when you're launching your swing from this high. If you look at it from the back, you want to be able to have that arm is supposed to be pulling straight back to take the slack out of your chain, and we see that it's just not. It's up, and that's probably the right height for the elbow. It just needs to be back, and the arm needs to be pulling back. So you're just not getting into a strong launch position. Part of the reason that is important is because, like I mentioned, fascial lines. This is the fascial maps of the body. The reason fascia is a tissue. If you quickly stretch it before you flex, it allows you to be really, really explosive. So that's why all those hitters are pulling up and back with their top hands. It's so that it stretches this line that runs from the left hip to the right rib cage. So when you don't pull all the way back, you don't get the full stretch right here, and you're not going to set your body up to use this tissue to help you be more explosive. So we really like a drill called Hook 'em for helping teach you how to glide out into a stronger launch position. We'd recommend that be the second drill that we add to a workout that we do with a bat sensor and weighted bats.
Then the next thing we want to look at is the launch phase of the swing. So what the launch is as the heel starts to interact with the ground, we see that the hips really start to open and they fire first. This is what we want to see, firing first, while that upper body maintains its upper body coil, and the hips are firing first. And we are seeing a stretch, and the hips fire first, and the hands don't go until we are launched. So that is what we want to see here. Front shoulder still down as the heel is starting to get into the ground, and this stretch across the shirt.
When we try to recreate the launch of your swing, so right as the heel is getting to the ground, I'm looking for when does the belt buckle leg have coil? It starts to fire there. Okay, so it looks like they're firing at the same time. So I'm looking to see for degrees of separation. Because that fascia, right, that runs across your left hip to your right rib cage, is this belt buckle obviously opening while your hands are still going back? And so when I look at the frame where your hips start to fire, like there, the hands, they are back, they are staying back, but they're up. And so they're not being pulled back. Well, I know they're not because we've already watched this, but if we watch as the hips start to open, you're coming down. Yeah, so all this is coming down. So it's taking the slack out of the fascia, out of the fascia, out of the fascia, instead of pulling back on the fascia. So this, so we want to teach your upper body needs to wait longer before it fires. So this is a sequencing issue. We have a sequencing series of drills that we like that really help you feel what it's like to fire your body in the right order of hips first, then shoulders, then arms, then wrist. And the bat sensors help us measure that very, very easily. They can measure something called rotational acceleration, which is a cool tactic. And depending on other stuff we get into with you, we can also have it measure attack angle, so it can tell you if your swing is positive or not. I think you said you wanted to leave that alone right now, which is totally understandable since you're hitting 400. So we can leave that alone, but it'll measure that stuff as well. But yeah, we need some sequencing work. I'd recommend a combination of some med ball stuff that works with that. Your ability to control how your pelvis tilts was something that checked off. You did most everything else well except tilting your pelvis. So that and some core control are some things I'd want to address, and I'll show you why we want to address some core control later and after I go over another thing, because that's more of a contact quality issue as well. Yeah, sequencing, firing these hips first, teaching this upper body to lay back would be the third kind of drill series that I'd put you in. Probably would give you 1 or 2 for this. This one's going to be the one that really does need you to make sure that you're working on this 2 days a week diligently to train your body to fire this way. It is I think it's the key to hitting at the highest level. It's also the key to hitting off speed pitches. You can't have your hands firing before your hips, or you're gonna have a hard time still having the ability to drive a ball if you're fooled on off speed.
And then we want to look at how the lower half works. So what we want to see in the lower half is we want to see, I need to refresh this here, we want to see the right hip rip the back foot away from this yellow line. So you see a right hip rips forward and it pulls the back foot away from the yellow line as the front leg straightens. Even though he's a little fooled there, you'll see it again on this one. Right hip rips the foot forward as the front foot straightens. And you also see the belt buckle pointing right at the pitcher, really getting the hips thrusting towards the pitcher, and that's a good lower half pattern, okay? So this is when you're on time. There's other ways to hit if you're not on time, but, you know, this is kind of what we shoot for. So, again, you can see here belt buckle is pointed right towards the pitcher, right hips ripping the forward, the right rear foot forward into a stiff front leg. And that's how we want the lower half to work.
When we look at your lower half in the swing and we try to recreate that kind of a graphic as well, put this on your rear foot. We want to see that your right foot rips that forward and off and unweights, and it does. So we're unweighting the back leg. We're straightening the leg into contact, and that all looks pretty good. What you will notice is the pelvis is tipped. Belt buckle is forward. So I noticed this in the pelvic tilt test. This is your pelvis is in this position. We want that pelvis to be more tucked, and your body is in a forward leaning position. So what happens when you make contact, and I know this is contact quality related, not power related, although this will affect your ability to see how far you can drive the ball if you're always swinging down. But the body will swing 90 degrees to the spine. I'm trying to really do this, and it's not wanting to cooperate with my video editing tool. The body will go 90 degrees to the spine. You can see, where did you hit this ball? It's about, the little blur shows you that it's about going 90 degrees to your spine when you get the ball good. And so teaching you, like, I would start to build, like, and all your movement prep stuff, let's add some of this pelvic tilting stuff to some of your movement prep, so that, like, 2 or 3 days a week, this is something that's like you're now building, so that your body becomes more comfortable not leaning forward, so that you have the motor control to handle that. That would be one thing. But the legs are wanting to do stuff right. But if this posture was more like back here, then we could have a slight, we'd have a slight line drive, and things would change. Now, changing this mid-season does have timing effects, so we can leave this alone until after season, or whenever you decide that you want to attack this, or we can just slightly lean on it every now and then, and me not even really bring it up, but put you in a couple things that might help with this. But that's one thing. So that's what we see there. Now, when it comes, I was mentioning core control. From a power production standpoint, we want to see. So here you go. That elbow is racing in front of the hip, and so that is an upper body going too soon thing as well. So we'd want to put you in some drills that help that not happen, and that's actually going to, so after you hit, do you see how you're pulling your hands to the side? So your elbow is tucked into your rib cage, and you've already pulled your hands like across your body, like the direction that you are moving your barrel right there is towards left field. When you make contact with this ball, instead of straightening your arms and having it go back towards the middle of the field, if you were to look at, let's see, shoot. I want to see if you roll. If you don't, you do a good job of not rolling. So that right hand stays palm up, that's good, but you cut the arms across your body. So instead of extending, so that elbow right there, let's show you a different clip. I guess this really isn't a different clip, but it still shows you the same thing. Do you see how, as his right hand is getting palm up, yours is palm up too, but his is chest high and his arms are extending towards the pitcher. The elbow's not sucked in across his body, and he's not pulling this barrel across his torso. He's letting the barrel extend towards the pitcher. Versus yours is elbow tucked in, it's pulling across your body, and you're not extending the ball towards the pitcher, where you could have sent more energy into the ball if you would have kept the arms going towards the pitcher. Now, one thing that happens is, you see, I see the front of your shirt, and I kind of see the back of your shirt, but for like right at contact here in the next frame, there's not like, the shoulders don't really do much rotating. There's like a couple degrees of rotation. But if you go look at Dansby Swanson, and you imagine a pole was drilled down his head, you see the front of his shirt, you see the back of his shirt. Front of the shirt, back of the shirt. So this is a lot more, upper body continues to drive through the ball as he's extending, and it just allows him to deliver more power through the ball. So your shoulders stop too soon instead of driving, and so that would be something that I would want to help you work with as well. So there'd be about 4, 5, 6 drills that we would give you that target all of that stuff, In season right now, I'd recommend that we do those 2 days a week. And then the goal would be that each day we're measuring those speeds on a bat sensor with weighted bats, and we get, can we come in every time and get 1% better every day and start to tighten this stuff up. So if that is something that you would like me to help you do, here is how our pricing works. So the pricing is pretty straightforward. Our goal is that you take the workouts that we would create for you, and you get them in 2 to 3 days a week for a kid your age. So we have pricing that offers between 1, 2, and 3 different days a week. If you're going to be working at home, we recommend you pick up a bat sensor so that you can track your improvements with the drills that we would suggest, whether those are contact quality ones or whether those are bat speed training ones. But the way it works, and I actually don't have these listed here, but or I don't have the middle one listed. If you want to come out 3 times a week, it is the best deal per session. That is $500 a month, and so that breaks down to like $6 a session or something like that. That's the best offer. If you want to come in twice a week to work on these things, then that is $400 a month, and that breaks out to $50 a session. If you want to come in once a week, it's $250 a month. That breaks out to $62.50 a session. So there's a price break depending on how often you want to come out. Yeah, you just let me know which one of these makes the most sense for you, and how many of these you would like to do at home versus coming out to do with us. So I usually recommend that people pick up a bat sensor, and then they come out the first couple times and we show them how to do the workout, and they then know how to do the workout, and they know how to track it on the bat sensor, and then they can handle those workouts at home after a couple of times. And then that when you come back, what we do is we actually focus more on contact quality stuff when you come out, so that we can use our pitching machines and the reacting to a moving ball stuff that'll help you make better contact when you come out. And so, you can do your 2 sessions at home on a weekly basis to improve your bat speed while we help you dial in your contact quality. It's up to you, but those are the different options we have. So whatever you decide, we do have an online scheduling calendar that just let me know which one of these would be the option that makes the most sense for you guys. And then I can send you a link to our online scheduling calendar, and we can you can use that to decide when you want to come out and start to book some sessions and start to have us help you with the stuff. So that's how it works. Let me know what makes the most sense, and I look forward to getting started with you guys.